Hello, fellow readers. Welcome back to another book review. This time it's Apothecary Diaries, but specifically the night light novels, not night novel. Anyway, the point is, I originally was going to do this video in two parts for each light novel, but I kind of read them back to back, so I just decided to make it one big video and wait a bit before I read the next couple of books because there's so much going on in just the first two that and I'm also kind of watching the anime beside the books. So while I read the books, I kind of wanted to make sure that I kept up with the anime as well. Um, Originally, I did actually start the anime before I picked up the light novels, but I really liked the first couple. I think the first two episodes, and so I decided to do the light novels because they came before the manga, I believe. And I already have so many manga on my list to read that I just decided that I would read the light novels instead so that I could free up more space for the manga that I'm reading and so on and so forth. So, the main premise of Apothecary Diaries is following our protagonist um who is named Mao Mao, and she is basically kidnapped and brought into the rear palace for majority of the first book, and then kind of in the second book it's a little different. But like she gets main premise is she gets kidnapped, brought to the rear palace, and is basically a serving girl, but she kind of pretends to be worse than she actually is because she doesn't want to pay her kid, basically let her kidnappers get money out of her work. But what reveals her abilities is a plot mystery, like murder mystery thing going on, where she figures out the issue of why these babies from the consorts are getting sick and why the consorts are getting sick, and she solves that issue. And then everyone's like, who's this, like, who helped, because she did it in secret so she wouldn't get attention, but she gets the attention anyway because people were paying attention, mainly her, I believe, future love interest Jinchi. Yeah, this is also, so while this is mainly a mystery novel series, it also has a bit of a romance plotline with the main love interest is this guy named Jinshi who is like in charge of the rear palace and basically finds out about her because she overheard her, he figured out, and with that overhearing he kind of figured it out and drew her forth, especially since one of the consorts listened to her secret advice and proceeded to then want to like thank her properly. So then we get into Mao Mao basically solving mysteries that are brought to her attention, especially if they involve poison, because she has a big thing about poison. She loves it. She even tested on herself, which is part of the reason why she's called an apothecary. Like, why it's called Apothecary Diaries is because she's an apothecary, and she also kind of experiments with poisons and stuff. It kind of correlates all together. Um, in the first novel, it's mainly her working in the rear palace, but the second novel is her working kind of in the rear palace, but also not, because she starts working directly under Jinchi in the second novel. But in the first novel, she's in the rear palace all the time, basically all the time. Um, we learn a lot about her. One, because she's the protagonist, and two, through other characters, and how she knows how other people perceive her, which is really funny because she knows how people perceive her. and like what she would look like to other people, and knows that this is why some people are really kind to her, is because well, she usually has one of her arms wrapped up in bandages, and that's because she tests poisons on herself. So she has a lot of like marks all over one arm where she tests the poison. So instead of having to explain it, she just kind of wraps it up and forgets about it. But everyone else sees that and is like, oh no, you're injured and hurt. We gotta protect you and feed you. Because she's also small. I think that's my only nitpick, is I hate how often they mention her short stature. It's like, yeah, I get she's small. I don't need it 20 like in my face 24/7. I get that she's a tiny person, because we also get told through her, because we're in her point of view. We get told through that she was raised in a not so well off district. She was raised near the pleasure district, which is already like not a good area. And it just it's very much like, okay, I get it. Like I could already assume that she's on the smaller side because of where she was raised. I don't need to be told constantly that she is small and just anyway, point is, she's a very small person, and it reflects a lot by how people act around her, because they kind of she acknowledges it, and she like it's very obvious that people see her and are just like, oh, she's so young and like injured, we gotta take care of her. And then she's over here thinking the most dirtiest thoughts. I Every time I flip a page, she's staring at some woman's chest and going, man, you're well endowed. Or I think that's how you pronounce it. Point is, she is very dirty minded, and it's actually pretty funny because everyone's like, wow, you're so innocent, like you look so innocent, and she's literally like, those are some big. Mm-hmm. Wait, what were we talking about? Kind of energy. And I'm just like, dude, you're very, very dirty minded for somebody who constantly claims you don't care about that stuff. Um, but it also gets to the point that I actually really like her because I relate to her in that way. More in the fact that I get the mindset, right? Because she comes off as on the aromantic and asexual spectrum, which is like I'm also on it, and so I see myself reflected in the character. And so her like thought process and just constant like I don't care about this stuff, or it's like it's normalized to me that I don't care about it in general, that really does not care. And it is very nice to see that, like in literature. It also is really funny because she knows that she is making advances, and she just doesn't care. She finds it disgusting and is just like, dude, back off, please. I don't want this. This is whatever this is. No. I mean, you can kind of get hints of already, or her kind of starting to get used to his behavior and like being around him in book 2 in the light novel, because she's starting to be more like, ah, okay, fine, whatever kind of behavior with him now. In the first volume it was definitely just straight up disgust, but second volume she starts kind of like, okay, whatever, just don't get in my face. I also found the second volume a lot more funny, because especially since like she is running a little like book, like she's passing out books about all those topics, right, that she's so used to. being raised around the pleasure district. And she gives them to the courtesans, and I funny enough, she also gives it to the emperor himself. A lot of people online do not talk about that part. They always mention the courtesans, but she also gives the emperor that stuff too. Not directly, but through the courtesans. But again, she still does it. And I'm like, no wonder they don't stop her whenever she does stuff. Because she literally supplies them with stuff that they do want and doesn't care. She even, like, and even before that, in the first volume, she taught everyone how to make the like traditional clothes so that they could hold these like hot stones to keep them warm in the cold, and they were like, yes. And then she also saved um one of the royal courtesans lives, and saved the royal princess as well. And like, these are the only first two volumes of stuff she has done, and I'm just like, what else is she gonna do that is like even. Oh yeah, she also saves Jinchi, who is actually the emperor's brother, but not really. It's actually, technically he's the son, but there was a baby switch somewhere in, I like mentioned in the first volume, and so technically Jinchi is the emperor's son, eldest son, but nobody knows that, and everyone thinks that he is the brother. So either way, there's a lot of scandal there. But the fact that she saved Jinshi after figuring out all of, like, doing her mystery solving, and then goes to save him, is just like, again, another thing of like, she's doing something that is helping the emperor. And so he's like, no wonder this guy has nothing to say and is like, yeah, actually, let the apothecary do what she wants. Like, I can already tell she's gonna get away with everything because of just these first two volumes of what she is doing. And she is so like, but she's also like really strict on herself with, and strict with the rules, so she doesn't even realize how much she has done and how much she can get away with because of what she's done, because she still is very focused on the classes that are in this system. And while that is a very big, important part of this story, how classes and how all this stuff affects what you're allowed to do or not do, or like what to be and not to be, there, like, that is a very big theme of too. She still, like, she doesn't really realize that she's done so much that if she wanted to bend the rules, and she has unintentionally, she gets away with it. She can get away with it because she's done so much good. We also, when we do take breaks from Mao Mao's point of view, we do get Jinshi's point of view. So he is like the second protagonist to a certain degree when we're not in his. And he is, I mean, right now there's nothing really interesting about him. I don't really mind him. He's kind of there right now, and just like, in my opinion, more of a break from Mao Mao as a character than anything else. Like, when people need, it's kind of like a palate cleanser feeling to me. He'll probably get more interesting in later volumes. It's just right now he's kind of there for the palate cleanse between important plot points, and more just like giving hints of what the next mystery will be. Water break. It's just why I don't have a lot to say about him other than he's the love interest and he's there. um I also really like the courtesan that Mama works under in the first volume because she's so funny with how she manipulates events too. Like she's so chill and so funny because she like loves playing pranks just as much as the next person, but she has to do it in a more tactful way to get away with it, which is why I think like I love her. She's so funny. And I there's not much to say about the princess since she isn't important to the plot right now other than the beginning and how Mao Mao got into her position. How she actually got Mao Mao switched from working in the rear palace to working under Jinshi is from so she gets fired in at the end of the first Apothecary Diaries light novel because of this mystery plot line about that was all tied to this courtesan that was leaving the rear palace, not the back ones. And there was a mystery that was tied to this person named Feng Ming, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head. Um, but other than that, like it was some stuff came to light, and since Mao Mao was raised by the doctor that had taken care of the babies, and he had gotten fired because of the supposed baby switch and then also one of the babies dying. Like he got fired and also he that's how he got a limp in his leg. So Mama's father figure is like that that is since she that is her father. Adoptive father, she kind of got kicked out because of relations and it was unintentional. So she starts working at the one of this like really important rear not rear palace one of the pleasure houses. It's really important for the plot line because it's like one of the most famous ones, and she has three older sisters that take care of her and stuff. So she starts working under them, and then they go to serve at the the palace, and Jinshi's at this like while they're serving there, and he just kind of like buys her out, and then she starts working under him, and that's kind of what happens. In the second novel, we also meet her biological father, who is just her like it's just he's very similar to Mao Mao, but his like specialties and interest are in war and in like not video games but like board games and stuff. So where she loves medicines and plants and poisons specifically, he's all about these board games and how to strategize and stuff. And it's really funny because I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely related. I can tell. But she hates him because she blames him for a lot of things that happened while she was growing up because her mother was one of the top. Wait, I mixed them up. Oh no. I think it's courtesans or. Her mother was a courtesan. They're courtesans. I mixed it up. Okay, so the like the people in the rear palace are, I think, they're called concubines, I believe. Oh no, I mixed them up, didn't I? Oh well. Okay, so anyway, back to point. Mao Mao's mother was a courtesan for this pleasure house, and her and her father kind of this the so Mao Mao's mother and father like fell in love and decided to lower the mother's value so that they could be together by having a kid, basically. And that was Mao Mao, which is why the pleasure house kind of like fell under for a bit and then had to find other ways to come back and become the most popular. Point is, that's what happened. But her father, Mama's father, was sent away around that time, and he was only planning to be away for like, I think, 2 months or 3 months. But he got stuck there for years, and so by the time he came back, it was already too late, and stuff had gone down, and like, he got blamed for all of it. And so Mao Mao also kind of blames him for everything happening because of all of the stuff happening. And so that relationship is one-sidedly sour because her father loves her, but he just doesn't know, like, he probably does notice, he just doesn't care. Point is, they have a sour relationship, but she still helps her mother and father get back together again and see each other again, which is really sweet. And yeah, overall, I really like the mysteries more than anything else. And I like all the heavy topics of classes and how classes can very much affect the mindset and what people can do. Oh, like over certain things. And it's very, from what I've heard and from what I understand, it's very accurate to the time period. But I'm not sure. It's not something I'm completely sure on. But otherwise, like it's a really good mystery novel, in my opinion, especially since Mao Mao's not a reliable narrator because she also likes to keep secrets to herself until it's time to reveal the big mystery plot line. But other than that, yeah, not much. Like the classes and the mystery, right now there's not much romance, so maybe in future novels there might be, not sure. But overall, I really liked it. I mean, I read the first two volumes back to back, so I liked it a bit. I definitely will be reading more of the Apothecary Diaries, though, in the future. Bye bye.